urged Russia to cease hostilities and allow firefighters and emergency responders to access the site. Just reading out the statement from the White House here, it says, President Biden spoke with President of Ukraine Zelensky this evening to receive an update on the fire at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. President Biden joined Zelensky in urging Russia to cease its military activities in the area and allow firefighters and emergency responders to access the site. President Biden also spoke this evening with the Undersecretary for Nuclear Security of the U.S. Department of Energy and Administrator of the National Nuclear Security Administration to receive an update on the situation at the plant. The president will continue to be briefed regularly. This is the statement from the White House confirming that the United States also and the White House is very, very closely tracking what's playing out right now at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Biden having a conversation with Zelensky and now urging Russia, saying cease military activities in the area, allow firefighters, allow emergency responders to enter the area. We'll get you an update shortly on whether that's happened right now, on whether firefighters have been given access finally at this point. But I can also get you another big update that's coming in right now on this big story. As I mentioned, the world is watching what's happening at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant extremely closely. They know that this is going to be, in fact, something that affects the entire world. The UK has called an emergency meet of the UN Security Council over what's playing out at the nuclear power plant in Ukraine. So the UNSC may have an emergency session as we speak because of what's playing out. The United States is tracking very closely with Zelensky what's happening. They said that they're also in touch with their own nuclear experts in US to see what needs to be done, what is the scale of destruction, what this could potentially mean as well, whether it can become a nuclear accident. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom is calling an emergency meet of the UN Security Council over what's played out right now in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Another update that's just come in. The head of the nuclear power plant, Igor Murashov, has also spoken out. Nuclear safety at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant has been broken. We're doing everything possible, but the fire is going on. Firefighters are not allowed. There are great risks. Fighting is going on at the plant. The reactors are in danger. This is what the head of the nuclear power plant has said. So at this point, a lot of reactions spreading alarm, spreading panic. But what we can tell you is that the fires at the administrative building, yes, it is close to the reactors. So that is definitely a concern. It hasn't, however, spread to the reactors just yet. We are going to try to get you an update of what's really happening on the ground, whether the firefighters have managed to enter right now or not. All of this is reminiscent of the 1986 Chernobyl disaster north of Ukraine. Remember, the first thing Russia did almost upon the invasion is to capture the Chernobyl power plant. It's inactive right now because there are still reports of that being an active radiation site. Russian tanks, troops were all stationed at the Chernobyl power plant. They took control almost immediately. Now they're focusing on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The reason this is so different is that it's not a defunct power plant. This is an active one, Europe's largest. Hugely concerning this. And besides, and taking away from all of the security aspects of this, let's just focus for a moment on what happens if there is some sort of a radiation leak that happens. It's catastrophic for the entire world. This particular nuclear power plant is located, in fact, on the banks of the Dnieper River. And this river, much like what happened in Chernobyl, when you had, in fact, the radiation seeping into the soil, seeping into water bodies, that's exactly what could happen if there is a leak here too. It will seep into the Dnieper River that flows through Ukraine, that flows into other countries as well. So the damage wouldn't be restricted to just Ukraine. Zelensky himself saying exactly that. He's saying that if there is a radiation leak, it will affect not just Ukraine, but the entire continent. And there's no doubt that considering that Zaporizhzhia isn't based in North Ukraine, it's based in southeastern Ukraine, it is relatively close to Russia as well. That's why the world is watching very, very closely right now what's happening. The UK is seeking an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council on this. US President Joe Biden has had a conversation with Ukraine President Zelensky. We're going to get you the latest updates also on what's happening. At this point, and we'll be getting you a live update from our reporters on the ground on what's really happening, whether this plant has been secured, what's the situation with regards to the fire, has it spread further. We're going to be getting you all of those updates as well. But what Ukraine has been warning against, they've been urging Russia to stop shelling in the area, saying that if by any chance one of the shells hits the reactors, then the world is doomed. And that's what they're highlighting here. What you see on your screens is the shell, one of the shells fired by Russia hitting a building there. And you see this very bright light, after which there's a fire that breaks out. This is an administrative building. If you look at the entire setup of the complex, you can see that it's on the left of that entire complex. They're saying that it is close to the reactors. Going by the map also that we've had of this particular reactor, it says very clearly, and it shows about 6 reactors in this power plant. This is an active nuclear power plant, the largest in Europe that Russia is trying to seize. At this point, what you can also see on your screens, there's information that we're putting out on what can potentially go wrong. Remember that in this kind of a situation, at this point, there's been no fire in the reactors. But with things standing as they are right now, if the fire continues to spread, as Ukraine claims firefighters not being allowed in, it could be very, very bad for the entire world. Ukraine says it can be 10 times worse than the 1986 Chernobyl disaster. Now, if there is a leak, and again, I want to say that that's still a big if. It's not a question of it 100% happening. The fire is in an administrative building. If it spreads, if there's an attack on the reactor, then it could spread a disaster threat to the entire world. Gaurav Sawant, reporting from Kyiv for us here on India Today, is joining us on this broadcast. Gaurav, very grim, worrying news coming in this morning of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant being under attack. Any updates that you've been able to pick up? Because Ukraine here is sounding alarm bells over this.
You know, there is tremendous alarm in Ukraine, as you very rightly pointed out. This attack on Zaporizhzhia, and Zaporizhzhia is a very, very crucial city en route Kiev. This is when the Russians are moving towards Kiev. Zaporizhzhia is a very, very crucial city. This is where there's a huge power generation plant here, a nuclear power generation plant. The reports are that one of the buildings there, and as you rightly pointed out, it's an administrative building that has caught fire. But the report that seems to indicate that higher level of radiation is being seen there, and we are still waiting for an independent confirmation on this. This is extremely alarming. This report that quotes the plant spokesperson telling a Ukrainian channel that there's an urgent need to stop this fighting in an effort to put out flames, because that is where they fear that if this fire spreads, it could lead to more trouble. This has sent alarm bells not just in Ukraine, but perhaps across Europe, where where pressure is being sought to be put on Russia to stop the fighting as quickly as possible. There is trouble right now all across, because this would lead to panic, and panic leaving here in Kyiv, where we are, Akshita.
Sure it is. I'm sure it is, Gaurav. And, Ukraine has been sounding alarm to the entire world, saying that something like this will be catastrophic for the entire world, not just for Ukraine. And that's exactly it, Gaurav. There are so many comparisons, the nightmares of the 1986 Chernobyl disaster that's echoing in everyone's mind right now. Zelensky has said that this will be way worse than Chernobyl. Remember, the word Chernobyl is his message.
You're absolutely right. Chernobyl 1986, the nuclear disaster then, and the fighting which is happening very close to a nuclear power plant right now in Zaporizhzhia. The comparison is alarming. The comparison is actually chilling. And last night, the president here in Ukraine had a very long press conference. He addresses journalists here almost every day. And yesterday, while he sounded extremely confident, and he spoke of guerrilla warfare, and he spoke of the fact that people are now waging this resistance guerrilla war against the Russians. He also urged the world to stop Russia. And hours later, where we are hearing of very heavy artillery fire, firing and missile attacks that are taking place close to Zaporizhzhia en route Kiev. This is the road from Mariupol towards Dnipro, or Dnipro as they say. Between Mariupol and Dnipro, you come across Zaporizhzhia. It's a strategic center. Zaporizhzhia has major strategic assets of Ukraine. That is where this power plant is, where this massive artillery attack is taking place, is what we have been told, and this fire near the nuclear plant. So there is a request to the world that's going out from Ukraine to stop the fighting here as quickly as possible, or the situation could turn alarming. Akshata.
It truly can. It truly can, in fact, go out of control here. Very, very alarming updates coming in at this point. We're trying to identify and ascertain exactly where this fire is within the nuclear power plant premises also, Gaurav. Any update on that front? Have officials been able to identify how close this is to the reactors?
Not just as yet, except that they're saying that it is in a building and not the reactor. The apprehension is an administrative building and not the reactor, but the apprehension is if fighting doesn't stop, if the fighting intensifies, then the reactor could also be under threat, and fires need to be put out as quickly as possible. But because of the fighting, the firemen are unable to reach the place. Very preliminary information just as yet. Just the basic statements coming out from the spokesperson of the reactor and an official of the administration in Kiev. But the impression being given out is that firing and fighting here needs to stop immediately to enable firemen to be able to put out this fire, or it could turn from bad to worse, Akshata.
Absolutely, absolutely. The need of the hour is to cease fire completely there at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. What you see on your screens there are images that we got of the shelling that was reported at this power plant. As I said, very sketchy information. We don't want to bank on either side right now, because both Ukraine and Russia are pushing forward their own version of what's playing out. Some saying that, look, there's fighting on between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine saying that this is Russian troops firing from all sides on the nuclear power plant. So we want to put out all aspects here. We will try to get you also a report from the ground of what's happening in Zaporizhzhia. This is a city in southeast Ukraine. What we're hearing is that the fire perhaps has broken out in an administrative building very close to the reactors, is what Ukraine has said, which is why they're saying that this is a very, very serious cause of concern. The world is watching this footage right now. US President Joe Biden has spoken to Zelensky. He's also with nuclear experts in the United States tracking what this means, the consequences of a fire in that premises, and what it means with regards to the reactors, whether this can turn into a full-fledged nuclear accident. We don't want to spread panic. We don't want to spread alarm. India Today has, of course, been getting you all the factual updates from the ground, and we'll continue to do that with this story as well.